Welcome at Enjoy Your Money with
Jaco Kwadraat, the radio show where we explore the gap between knowing what to do financially and actually doing it.
Jaco. Yes, because most of us know some of the basics like saving, avoiding unnecessary debt, and not to panic when markets move like we have experienced the past few weeks.
But Prof, yet somehow we still find ways to complicate our finances. But Prof, I thought about something because doing these intros make me think about a lot of stuff. So on this show, do we talk so much nonsense that it starts to sound like sense, or do we talk so much sense that it sounds like nonsense?
Jaco, may I exercise my right not to respond?
Okay, but think about it. Okay, and while you think
I will think about it.
I'm sure. Welcome to our series on behavioral finance, and we call it The Mind Behind Your Money.
Oh, Jaco, you put it so beautifully. Every time you say that, I just think, wow, you did it good. You did well.
But there must be an echo, the mind behind your money, or something. So, Prof, quick question for you. If I pick my own lotto numbers instead of letting a machine or computer pick them, do I have a better chance of winning?
Jaco, I know you think you will have a better chance, but not at all unless you pray very specifically about those numbers.
Do you think then I have a better chance?
Jaco,
but
can I teach you a new word?
Yes. Playing
lotto, rolling the dice, is a probabilistic event.
Probabilistic. With all this war going on, I hear all about ballistic missiles and stuff. So probabilistic's got nothing to do with ballistic.
It just means that it's a total random event and it's depending on probabilities. You cannot really determine it exactly or influence it exactly.
But Prof, it does feel like that we have more control when we choose the numbers ourselves. But as you said, the probabilities doesn't change.
Jaco, yes, and that's exactly what today's bias is all about, illusion of control, when we believe that we can influence outcomes which are actually totally random.
So that sounds like my household. I have the illusion of control there, but it's either random or other parties decide what's happening. I don't have any say, really.
Or like you have confirmed before, the reason you have control is because your wife tells you have control.
Exactly. But Prof, just on the topic of the lotto, if I was to play the lotto, and I don't, and I won, I won't tell anyone, but I can promise you there will be some signs.
Jaco, I'm afraid to think about the signs, but I think one will probably be I'll be attending in the studio alone the next week.
You will probably, but I will drive by and say hi.
Yeah, Jaco. So, this illusion of control really influences middle-income families like ourselves. Some part of middle income is also referred to as the missing middle, because financial decisions comes with a lot of stress, and we just I almost want to say we hope for some form of control.
Yeah, and I think with the things happening past number of weeks, we feel so much less in control. But on that serious note, let's just take a quick music break.
Welcome back after the break. We are talking behavioral biases, and today our topic is specifically on illusion of control.
But before we get too serious, let's get serious with the word. Prof, my verse for today, it's one of my favorite verses in the Bible, Proverbs 16 verse 9. In their hearts, humans plan their course, but the Lord establishes their steps.
Jaco, mine comes from James 4 verse 13 to 15. And it says, you say today or tomorrow we will do this or that. You do not even know what will happen tomorrow.
Yes, Prof. So those verses reminds us that planning is good, but thinking we control everything can be quite dangerous.
So true, Jaco. And for that reason, we also want to invite the listeners. If you want to listen to our previous episodes, listen to the previous biases that we discussed and what we learned from the Bible, you are welcome to go to SoundCloud or Spotify, look for Live FM, and then search for Enjoy Your Money. And you are also welcome to send us your messages here in the studio via WhatsApp 066 5166917. You can also still post any questions because after we have discussed all the various biases, we will again address some reader or listeners' questions.
Yeah, but it's going to take a while before we get there.
It will take a while. And in the meantime, you are welcome to also go and watch me and Jaco's new podcast series that's available on YouTube. Just look for Jaco 2. But Jaco, Illusion of Control reminds me of a story that I read about a person that every day he went to the middle of the town and then he would clap his hands with a huge sound. And the people will ask him, but why do you do it? And then he will tell them, no, I'm chasing away the elephants. And then they will say, but there's no elephants in town. And then he would say, exactly. You see, it works. And that's how illusion of control works. You think you have control.
Okay. So, Prof, we I think with the intro and everything we said up to now, we gave the listeners a good idea of what this illusion of control is about. But in specific to behavioral finance, please elaborate. Let me just enlighten the listeners.
Jaco, illusion of control is in simple terms the tendency to overestimate our ability to influence events that are largely due to chance. Or in other words, we think our actions cause an outcome, but the reality is that it has more to do with luck and randomness than our own efforts.
And Prof, I think the reality is just that there's actually so little things that we do control. And I must say, and it's not specifically to finances, one of the conscious decisions I made in my life, and I try to live by that, is to not get upset by things that I can't control. Because why get upset about something that you don't have any influence over? And it's difficult sometimes to feel like
that. It
is
difficult, but Jaco, I think for peace of mind, that's probably one of the best things one can decide, is to make peace that some things in life you really do not have any control over.
So, Prof, but this is, listening to what you said, it's closely linked to overconfidence. And we know I may have a bit of a problem there.
No, really, Jaco.
Yeah, you won't believe it. So if an investment works out well, we remember our skill, but when it fails, we blame the market. I actually had a colleague of mine that always said, if the students perform really well, it's their smart parents. If they perform badly, it's the bad lecturer.
Exactly. Yes, Jaco, yeah. Psychologists and even experts like Michael Pompian therefore classifies illusion of control as a cognitive bias and specifically belief perseverance, because again, it has to do with our belief that we can actually influence the outcome of something. But we know, and like you have just said, there are things that's really totally outside of your control. Global events, politics, interest rates, wars. I mean, you really cannot, as an individual, influence any of those things.
Yeah, I think the sad reality is there's much less than we control that we can't control. Did I say that right? There's much more things that we don't have any control of. There's very few things that we actually do control. And when it gets to finances, even so, there's even less. There's a small portion about our own finances, but the impact of outside things on that, even that, we don't have any control on.
Exactly. Jaco, and I'm not just thinking, perhaps just that is just why the Bible tells us, don't worry about tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow will bring its own worries. So, Prof, where do we see this bias in everyday financial behavior? How does it influence it?
Jaco, there's about three common places. One place where we do see it is over trading. So people constantly buy and sell investments or investment funds because they think that they know now what to do. They must sell now or they must buy now. They know if the price is high or low. And the reality is that most of the research, actually I've yet have to read research that shows the opposite, shows that people who trade often perform worse than people who just stay in the market for the long run.
And I think it was last week that we actually talked about this, where we said, what I wanted to say now. You see, I'm thinking so much things at a time, but we're talking about when we talk about financial decisions on this program, we tend to focus more on long-term decisions, long-term investments rather than speculative behavior. But just touching on your point that you just talked about overactive trading, there's also research, there's people, professionals, traders that do forex trading and stuff like that for banks. And the research has shown that banks still make the most money just with the difference between the buy and sell. The spread on forex, those guys trading, actually, there's not a consistent profit there. It's all over the place.
It is, because
and that's professional guys.
It is random.
It is random.
It's like Daniel Kahneman said that you can really become an expert to be able to forecast events if you can practice it, and it's almost want to say explainable. So if you know this happens, then that will happen, and that doesn't happen in the finance world. So Jaco, the second one is closely linked to that. I've almost sort of referred to that, and that's market timing. I cannot say how frequently I get a WhatsApp from a client saying, "Don't you think it's time now for me to buy gold? Should we not now go into offshore investments?" And then every time, I think I may have lost clients in that as well. I have to tell them I don't believe in timing the market. All the research shows that we cannot time the market. We have a good, structured investment philosophy, and let's stick to that.
Prof, I think you're going to, with what happened the past month, you're probably going to lose some more clients that would have thought it would have been a good time to time the market if we only knew.
But Jaco, again, I mean, the over the weekend when America and Israel attacked Iran, the overall view was that on Monday morning markets were full. Do you know that early Monday morning the South African market was up? So you cannot imagine or predict it, and that gets to the last point, and that's confidence or false confidence in predictions. So if we think that we can predict it correctly, and haphazardly we were correct in the past,
we were lucky to get it right.
We were lucky to get it right. Now we think we can get it right, and then we try again, and we just get it totally wrong.
So we think we have found the crystal ball, but in fact, it's not. Okay, so, and Prof, obviously you have referred to that. We see it here often, especially in South Africa with moving money offshore. We've talked about it quite a lot. It's now a good time. Is it not a good time? When will the rand strengthen? And normally people's view is, when will the rand weaken? And then they want to time it and buy and sell. And we just don't know. That's the reality.
It is. Jaco, and just to close off this portion of our program on the not so boring theory. So again, research that I was involved in, we found that 3 out of 10 South Africans show illusion of control bias. So it's not the most prominent one, but it's out there.
It is out there. I think maybe one of the reasons why it's not that prominent is because I do think when it gets to finances, there's not a lot of people that feeling overconfident in their abilities. I think it does that play a role.
And I think in South Africa, where everything is so up and down all the time, you sort of have to realize that at some stage.
Okay, on that note, let's take a break. And after the break, we'll discuss practical applications of this bias.
Welkom terug na die breek. Ons praat nog steeds gedragsfinansies.
Dis so 'n mooi woord. Ek dink ons moet net Afrikaans praat. Dis seker 'n mooi woord.
Dit is pragtige woorde. En Jaco, jy het nou juis in die breek vir ons 'n mooi beskrywing gekry vir illusion of control.
Ek weet nie wat 'n mooi beskrywing is. Ek dink ons moet gaan dink aan 'n mooier woord, maar dis die illusie van beheer. Ek dink al gaan 'n mooi woord wees.
Dit klink nogal soos 'n skilkunstenaar, daai illusie.
Ja, jy dink en jy is in beheer. Dis hoekom ek sê dit is so dit by my huis gaan. Illusie van beheer. Ek dink ek is in beheer, maar my vrou weet wat is die waarheid. Maar prof, op 'n meer ernstige noot. Kom ons meer ernstige noot, wil ek sê bring dit nader aan die huis. Kom ons maak dit meer prakties. Kom ons sê, hoe raak hierdie illusie van beheer? Wat is die dinge waarop ons moet let sodat jy jouself nie eintlik sodat mense nie swak besluite neem. Dis eintlik tog waar wat ons wil by uitkom met hierdie hele reeks is om vir mense bewus te maak van hierdie vooroordele, laat hulle bewus is van kom ons noem dit ek wil amper sê die swakpunte in ons mondering. Want ons almal het maar swakpunte, party meer as ander, maar ons het swakpunte en as jy weet wat jou swakpunte is, dan kan jy iets daaraan doen. En veral hierdie een wat gaan oor die illusie van beheer het ons gesien, dis mense wat te veel selfvertroue het. So dis die ou wat jy nie wil erken, hy het swakpunte op sy nie.
Absoluut. Jaco, soos jy gesê het, hierdie hele reeks gaan daaroor eintlik net dat jy dit kan erken en vir jouself kan sê, wow, pause net so bietjie en dink voordat jy doen. En as ons dit kan bereik, dan dink ek was ons suksesvol gewees en ek wil nou vir jou weer 'n paar vragies vra.
Ja, is dit moeilike vrae weer?
Baie moeilik en ek hoop die luisteraars gaan ook saam dink en Jaco, jy hoef nou nie hardop op die lig ja of nee te sê nie, maar ek sal dit waardeer as jy gaan,
Okay,
net tot die vermaak van die luisteraars.
Hierdie klink nou soos belydenis aflegging. Sê hard en duidelik, laat almal jou kan hoor.
Jaco,
of trou.
Verander jy gereeld aan jou beleggings, die fondse waarin jy belê is, of jou kripto, omdat jy voel jy moet nou iets doen?
Prof, gelukkig kan ek daar maklik sê nee. Oor my eie beleggings en kripto is my heel iets anders as 'n belegging. Ons het al daar gepraat, so my beleggings nee, ek het 'n baie goeie finansiële adviseur. Wat ek hierdie dinge mee bespreek.
Wat ek vertroulik van verneem het, dat jy nie heeldag aan jou beleggings verander nie.
Sê hy so?
Hy sê so.
Hoor net gou wel, wat sê hy?
Ja, hy sê hy het bevestig, jy verander nie heeltyd in jou beleggings nie.
Okay, nee, dankie. En dan die kripto deel, wonder ek die hele tyd, ek het dit al gesê, dan dink ek moet, maar ek is tog so bang ek mis uit. So nee, ookie daar nie.
Daar's 'n ander vooroordeel wat sterker is as illusion of control.
Ja, definitief.
Of illusie van beheer.
Wat sien is dit? Kan jy hom vinnig?
Waarskynlik status quo. Ons moet nog by hom uitkom.
Okay. So ek hoef hom nog nie die antwoord te ken nie.
Nee.
Okay.
Jaco, dink jy soms jy kan die mark uitoorlê of uitmanoeuvre?
Ek dink soms so, ja. Kry ek dit reg is natuurlik 'n ander vraag.
Ek kan net vir die luisteraars hier sê, ons het op 'n stadium, dalk het ek al gepraat van ons beleggersklap wat ons begin het. En toe ons begin het ons 2 portefeuilles gehad. Ons het die spekulatiewe portefeulje gehad en ons het ons langtermyn portefeulje gehad. En na die eerste jaar het ons eenparig besluit ons maak die spekulatiewe portefeulje toe, want ons kon nie die mark uitpresteer nie. Ons langtermyn portefeulje het baie beter gedoen.
Ek kan ook net die vir die luisteraar sê, ek het jou leer ken nadat jy dit gedoen het en ek het eendag by my kollega ingestap te sê, hy gaan nou begin spekuleer, hy het hierdie, ek weet nie wat, die program gekry en hierdie formule, dit gaan werk. En toe so 2-3 maande later te vra ek hom, so hoe gaan dit nou? Toe sê hy, hy het dit ook nou mag weer gestop, want dit het toe nou nie gewerk nie.
Dink jy ons moet daai kollega van jou op die program kry?
Ek wil nie, daai kollega moet my finansiële portefeulje bestuur nie. Ek dink, is daar finansiële adviseurs daar buite wat my kan help.
Okay, goed, nommer 3. Jaco, neem jy volle krediet vir goeie beleggingsbesluite wat jy gemaak het en blameer die mark vir swak resultate, of jou adviseur?
Ek wil net sê, ja, ek neem volle krediet, maar ek blameer my finansiële adviseur vir swak resultate.
Daar sê,
ja.
En dan die laaste een, Jaco, en ek weet julle hou ook van bordspeletjies. So Jaco, as julle bordspeletjies speel, dink jy dat jy 'n beter resultaat kan kry as jy die dobbelsteen op 'n sekere manier skit of wikkel as jy hom gooi?
Nee, wat daarom nie, prof. Daai weet ek dan is
deel B, sal jy toelaat dat iemand anders die dobbelsteen namens jou gooi?
Maklik, geen probleem daarmee nie.
Okay, so jy hierdie laaste een sê daarom jy's nie so erg aan hierdie een blootgestel nie.
Ja. Dalk het ek net nie baie vertroue in my dobbelsteen gooi vermoëns nie. Dalk weer in ander mense.
Dis dalk 'n gebrek aan vertroue.
Ja.
Jaco, so as jy en ons praat nou dan spesifiek miskien met die luisteraars, as jy op van hierdie vrae ja geantwoord het, en hoe meer jy ja geantwoord het, kan wys dat die illusie van beheer dalk teenwoordig is, en ons sien dit, soos ons al van tevore gesê het, baie keer by mense wat probeer om die markte uit te oorlê, of die tydsberekening vir die koop en verkoop reg te kry, maar wat ons dan gesien het, is dat die meeste van die tyd kry ons dit verkeerd, en Jaco, ek wil hier sommer die statistiek weer aanhaal.
Kan ek gou daar so net vir interessantheid, die beginsel in aandele is, koop laag, verkoop hoog. Ek meen, dit is baie maklik. Die ironie is, ouens wat die mark probeer time, soos hulle sê, doen eintlik die teenoorgestelde. Hulle het die vermoë om laag te verkoop en hoog te koop, omdat hulle op emosies reageer.
Dis ongelukkig wat die resultate wys, en ek dink ons het hierdie statistiek al van tevore genoem, Jaco, maar as ons oor die afgelope 20 jaar kyk, en jy sou R100,000 20 jaar terug in die JSE belê het, en net in 20 jaar se tyd die beste 50 dae mis, so min of meer 2 maande, dan sou jy vir jou R100,000 vandag R155,000 gehad het. So 50% oor 20 jaar by. Jaco, as jy dit halveer na net 'n maand wat jy gemis het, so jy het nou nie 2 maande gemis, jy het net 'n maand gemis, want jy het probeer met die mark te time en dit mis verkeerd gekry, dan sou jy so R300,000 gehad het, omtrent dubbel. Maar ek wil dit klink net soos 'n advertensie, maar dis nie al nie.
Dis nie al, dit klink soos 'n.
Jaco, as jy net vir die volle 20 jaar belê was, deur al die op en awe, deur al die finansiële krisisse, deur al die COVIDs, dan het jy vir jou R100,000 vandag R1.4 miljoen gehad. Jaco, en daai probability, daardie moontlikheid, is vir my net te laag om te raai en te probeer om die mark te time.
Prof, vir my is daar's een syfer wat jy nou nie gegee het nie, is eintlik, as jy net die top 5 dae, as jy 5 dae gemis het, belangrike dae,
oor 20 jaar,
oor 20 jaar, 5 dae, ek meen, dis omtrent niks, dan het jy nog steeds baie minder gehad, as jy net daar
gelos het. Dan het jy R400,000 minder gehad.
En vir my is dit sê maar net, ons kan nie die mark time nie, maar, en ek dink is eintlik wat hierdie vooroordeel vir ons sê, mense voel, hulle moet altyd iets doen. As daar iets gebeur, moet hulle reageer, want dis terug wat ons gesê, dan voel jy in beheer.
Ja.
Eintlik gebeur die mark en jy het geen beheer daaroor nie, maar as jy iets doen, dan dink jy is nou meer in beheer.
Ja, dis presies, en Jaco, dit laat my nou bring by, maar wat kan ons dan nou doen? As ek nou geïdentifiseer het dat hierdie vooroordeel by my voorkom, wat kan ons doen? Ek dink die eerste ding wat jy kan doen is diversifikasie. Jaco, ons het, jy weet nou waarvan ek praat, dit gaan dalk nou moeilik wees vir die luisteraars om die prentjie te sien, maar ons het so 'n prentjie van verskillende bateklasse se opbrengste oor die afgelope klompie jaar, en al wat ons daaruit kan sien is, daar's geen patroon nie. Met ander woorde, jy moet jouself diversifiseer oor verskillende bates, oor verskillende markte.
En as ek wil net gou vir die luisteraar, wat ons bedoel, verskillende bates, aandele, eiendom, kontant, effekte, buitelands, plaaslik, dit is wat ons bedoel met verskillende bateklasse.
Net so. Jaco, en dan sê ek ook soms vir my studente, jy moet onthou om niks te doen nie is ook 'n opsie. So baie keer is dit vir ons beter om eerder net kalm te bly, by jou strategie te hou, by jou bateallokasie te hou, wat jy nou net mooi verduidelik het, en dit gaan vir jou die beste resultate gee.
En dan prof, ek dink om amper hierdie stukkie aan te sluit wat ons die vorige kere gesê het, hou 'n besluitjoernaal by. En ek dink, dis wat ek gesê het, dis amper 'n patroon wat ons hier sien met al hierdie vooroordele is, wanneer jy besluit neem, skryf neer, wat was die omstandighede, wat was die rede vir jou besluit, sodat jy nie oor 3 of 4 maande dink, jy was eintlik so slim of so dom, jy moes dit raak gesien het, of wat die geval is nie, dis jou oulikheid nie, dis dalk net 'n geval van, dalk was ek maar net lucky.
Dalk was jy net lucky geweest. So Jaco, dis baie waar, want as ek hierdie besluitjoernaal het, dan kan ek teruggaan en gaan kyk, maar hoe het ek geredeneer, wat het ek geredeneer, En was die uitkoms as gevolg van wat ek geredeneer het, of was dit iets heeltemal randomly anders gewees?
Okay, prof, tyd om af te sluit, so wat is die boeresom vir
Jaco, dis eintlik weer 'n uitdaging vir die luisteraars. Gaan dink 'n bietjie hierdie week oor wat jy, en Jaco het so mooi gestel, wat is binne jou beheer en wat is buite jou beheer. En dan gaan gesels jy en jouself in 'n koppie koffie bietjie oor om vrede te maak oor dit wat jy nie beheer oor het nie.
Ja, prof, dit klink baie diep vir my, maar 'n lekker
Ek dink
koppie
Sigmund Freud sou trots gewees het op my.
Ja, maar 'n lekker koppie koffie saam met myself klink heerlik. So op daai noot, lekker week vir almal.
Lekker week.